Hey everyone, Ukrainian Man 23 here with you again with another fun video for you. How is everyone tonight? Hope you're having a fantastic evening wherever you are in the world. So, yesterday I had the privilege of interviewing a student here in Ukraine. She came on, she talked all about what it was like for her as a student, what her hopes and dreams for the future were, and shared a little bit more just about her own personal life as well. That was really fun. So tonight we're going to continue our series on life in Ukraine. As you see, I have another special guest with me today. This is
Настя Степочкина.
and Nastia is one of our grammar teachers at Eway, and also just one of the hardest working individuals I think I've ever met. But apart from being a teacher with Eway, she is also a teacher at one of the schools here in Ukraine, as well as being a tutor and just an all around helpful person wherever she can be. So she's going to come tonight, talk about the life of a teacher here in Ukraine. So, Nastia, how long have you been a teacher?
Um, I'm a teacher less than 1 year,
Okay.
but before I was a teacher's assistant for 1 year. So almost 2 years I work at school.
And so, as a teacher's assistant, how is that different than being an actual teacher?
Oh, it's totally different. I mean, when you teacher's assistant, you help to teacher with everything. Usually you help with some lessons, with some practical things, like give students some books or something like this, but you still have a lot of time because you shouldn't prepare lessons, and it's much more easier than to be a teacher. But when you're a teacher, you should do this all stuffs at school, like everything.
All of a sudden, you're now responsible for everything that the students have to do. You take complete control and care of them.
Yes.
So, you said you've been an actual teacher now for 1 year.
Less than one
One
year,
was one.
yes, from September.
And what age group do you teach at your school?
I have 6 and 7 years old kids in my class.
So would that be considered first grade then in Ukraine, or is that
Yeah, it's first grade in Ukraine.
okay? And what subject do you teach?
I teach almost all of subjects. I teach math, I teach reading and writing and science. Of course, it's like primary school science, just something easy about nature and like something like this. PE, what else? Oh, art also. Yes, and I teach them all of subjects except English, music, and it's all.
And how well do you have to know these subjects yourself in order to teach them?
I should know them better than my kids. Yes.
So would you consider yourself a pro when it comes to math and science, like an expert?
I'm not think I'm really good on math, but I'm a little bit better than our like fifth grade students.
All
I
right.
think so. Yeah.
And something else that Nastia was telling me earlier that I found very interesting was when this class of first graders that you have right now, when they finish, they don't just leave her class. She doesn't just leave to go to another class and they go on to another teacher. She follows them. She stays with them. They're stuck with her, which we hope is a good thing. But in fact, that's normal here in Ukraine, Nastia said. In fact, you said that teachers will follow their students all the way up to fifth grade.
Yes, 4 years from like first grade until fifth grade. We have the same teacher, so my class will be with me 4 years.
And is that the same in every school in Ukraine?
Yes, of course, sometimes something can happen and teachers will change, but usually, if you have class, you will teach them like 4 years.
And what is the thinking behind that? Why is that considered to be an important thing?
It's really important because you have 4 years to like understand your students, to try and find the best way to teach them, understand them, help them, and they have this not idea, but usually we call our first teachers, our primary school teachers, the second mom. So that's why it's
Mm-hmm.
important. We're trying to be second mom for them.
So did you hear what she just said there? She said she's trying to be like a second mom to these students. Now, I hate to say this, and I apologize in advance to any teachers out there from America, but a lot of time the mentality of American teachers tends to be in those early grades, first, second, third, fourth, and fifth. I only have to put up with this kid for a year. Once the year's over, he's out of my hands. Somebody else can go and deal with him now. Definitely not the case in Ukraine.
No, no, no. I can imagine even if my kids will go to some other teacher. For me, it's kind of
It's like losing.
tragedy.
It'd be like what if your child going somewhere else, right?
Yes.
Leaving your care.
Mm-hmm.
You see, these students that they're teaching really become like kids to them, like personal kids to them, because they're with them for so long. They really get to know them, not just teacher student relationship, but on an emotional level. They get to really deepen their respect with them as a person. And by the time these students do finally leave them at fifth grade, they usually have such a good relationship with them that they stay in contact all throughout the rest of their school years. Nasi was telling me about how she still remembers the very first teacher she ever had. And in fact, you said you're still in contact with her, right?
Yeah, we are friends on Facebook.
See, that's something.
Of course, it's not about all teacher. I think I should say something like this. We have different types of teachers. So some of them it's second moms. Some of them, absolutely not.
But they're still stuck with them for those 5 years, right?
Yeah, but we still should be with them like 4 years.
They get no choice in that.
So yeah, and yeah, but you are right. I remember my first teacher, and we had some. I have no clue why, but our teacher was changed, and I had two teachers. So for first grade, and then for second, third, and fifth. But I still remember both of them, and I love both of them.
That's awesome. Yeah, so like I said, one thing that's always impressed me about Nastia when she talks about her students is I can just sense how much she really cares about them. She's always thinking about, boy, I got to be really careful what I say to these students because I know how much what I say might really influence them, how much that might really impact them for the rest of their life. And she's going to have to carry that mentality for the next 5 years because, as we said, she's going to be following these students around. So then what happens to them after they get done with fifth grade? Do they then get different teachers after that, or?
After that, they have different teacher for each subject. So one teacher for math, other teacher for Ukrainian literature,
right.
And like for all of subjects, they have different teachers.
So that's pretty similar to how it goes in America. When you through elementary school, you have one teacher that, as like Nasti does, will teach a wide variety of subjects. Then after that, you start prioritizing what's really important. So, you have one teacher that's only an expert in this field. You have another teacher that's only an expert in this field. So students could have anywhere from 4 to 5 teachers then in a given semester. So then after you get done with this current class after fifth grade, do you then get a new class, Nastia?
Yes.
Okay.
Usually when you have this, like we have a small graduation, like fifth classes, and they have graduation, and
That's
then
cute.
yeah, I know, and so then I will have new class, first grade, again.
So what is your favorite part of being a teacher? Would you say, Nastia?
Yeah, I told you that it's a little bit hard question because you have a lot of not parts but things I love to be teacher. One of them is because kids are so honest. They are so open to everything. Like you will say them some small fact or something, and they will like, wow. And I'm also like to do small focuses. Can I say like this? And when they can find something in their bags, and they're like, I haven't this. I say, are you sure? And they're like, yes, it's not here. And then I'm just open their bags and like take this book or notebook, and for them it's absolutely magic. And they're like, wow. And they really love this. So yeah, just
One of the
kids.
joys of being able to teach 6 and 7 year olds is, as she said, just how amazed they are at the
Oh
simplest
yes.
things and how much pride they get of just learning what is a very basic concept. It's like when we have a kindergartner who learns how to learns the alphabet or learns how to count to 10. To them, that's a huge deal, and they just they feel like they're a genius then after that.
Yeah,
So,
and they have like 100 questions for you
of
about
course.
something like simple. And sometimes, usually, they can ask something, and you're like, I have no idea how to answer for this.
So then in that situation, do you just tell them, I don't know, go ask somebody else, or do you try to answer the question?
If I can answer to this question, I'm trying to explain them like the easy and like the most simple way, like to explain something hard. But if I don't know, sometimes I can honest answer them. I don't know, but I will try to know about it. So yeah,
Mhm.
difference.
So, as you can see, as Nastia has told us a couple of times now, that this is really a close knit relationship with the students. This isn't just I come in, I teach them for a few hours a day, and then I go home and totally forget about them. No, she really goes home. She thinks about them. She cares for each one of them as an individual. Um, in fact, you said you have how many students in your class?
34.
Yeah, she's got 34 kids that she herself is in charge of. So, and 6 and 7 years old every day can be a real adventure for her, from what it sounds like. So, because these kids have a lot of energy. So,
Oh, yes.
so be praying for her, right? That she have
Thank you.
patience and the energy in order to get through the rest of the semester. Now, obviously, right now Ukraine is under quarantine and schools are closed. So, do you miss your kids?
Yes, seriously. I'm so glad that I have a chance just relax and have rest, you
Hmm.
know. But I'm really miss them, and some parents write me like they say hello to you or something like this, and I'm really looking for our meet in
Hmm.
like in future.
You're looking forward to when schools restart back again.
Yes, yes,
Yeah. So then, right now, are you having to do any work as a teacher while quarantine is in effect, or are you
yes. We work distance,
okay?
like
Long distance.
yeah. So we make some exercise for our kids and send to parents. It's
Hmm.
first grade, of course they can't do
Right.
just by themselves, but we send it to parents,
And
and
you hope
they
the parents help them.
yeah, I hope so.
No,
they
Ukrainian parents are a lot better at
they
helping their
work
kids out.
together, and yeah, so I have some work now.
Well, the biggest problem we tend to run into in the States a lot, and this has kind of become a running joke now, is by the time the kid, gets to school and brings home his homework or whatnot, the parent has been away from this kind of stuff for so long they've forgotten how to help their kid. So like kid will bring their math homework and his parent, he spends half the time just trying to relearn how to do the homework himself.
Uh-huh.
So is that the same in Ukraine, or do parents here tend to be a little bit better at helping out their kids with homework?
I think again we have different types of parents. So we
Definitely.
have like absolutely one parents will be, just trying to help with everything so kids can do the just if even if they can do it by themselves, they haven't chance.
Hmm.
But some parents just, push kids to do
They want,
it.
yeah, it's the kid's job, it's the teacher's job to help them understand it. So we don't want to have to deal
Yes.
with it.
But I'm trying to explain to parents from my students' parents, that like you should understand. I have 34 kids in my class. I can't teach them everything I want to
Exactly.
do, but I can't. So you should help me. And now we're trying to work with parents like partners,
Hmm. And that's also something that's really nice about Ukrainians. A lot of time, it is really a partnership between the parents and the teacher, as far as this is where your kid is at, this is the help they need. Instead of just the parents expecting that the teacher is supposed to know everything and they're the only ones that are supposed to help the kid out. Because they again they really understand the value of education here in Ukraine. We talked about that yesterday with Kate about just how important education is to Ukrainians. Right now in America, education is, yes, it's considered important, but the level of it continues to drop. Students getting out of high school deciding not to go to college is at an all-time high. Kate said yesterday that's hardly a thought here. It's just kind of expected that once you finish high school, you go on to university, and then you find a job of some kind. You become independent. You realize yourself in a career. So the expectations are definitely different here. So along with teaching, Nastia also does individual tutoring sessions with people. Um, so what do those look like? What does an individual tutoring session look like? How does that differ from what you do in a classroom?
No, I have just 2 kids in my tutoring, and I have different lessons with one and with other one. So it's just one kiddo and me. So it's absolutely different than 34, and both of them, they are absolutely different. And when I with child face to face, I can't understand better how to teach him, how help him with this, and I understand his strong and not strong characteristic. Yeah,
She understands the things he's strong and the things he's not, and so as a tutor, she then tries to teach him accordingly.
Yes, so I'm trying to make some exercise good for him, and so it's absolutely different than just lesson.
Definitely. And what subjects do you tutor in?
With one of them, it's math and English, and with other one, it's science, English, and also Ukrainian grammar.
And do you just meet at your house or their house for those sessions usually?
In their house.
Okay.
Yes.
So you can tell from what Nastia's saying here that she's a very busy person. Between her normal 5 days a week teaching, and you said you tutor how many days a week?
3.
So she has tutoring 3 days a week. And I mentioned at the beginning of the video, she also is a grammar teacher for us at Eway. So obviously, with all that, she doesn't have a lot of free time. But what do you do with a little bit of free time you do have?
Sometimes just watching some movies, reading books, not really often draw something, and of course prepare for lessons.
Definitely. So yeah, even when she has free time, it's just preparation for the next day's work usually. Now, what are some movies you like?
I like different movies, but it's more actions or fantastic or some adventures movies like Star Wars.
See, Star Wars is popular everywhere.
Of course, and anytime.
Do you prefer American movies or Ukrainian movies?
Sorry, my Ukrainian friends, but Ukrainian cinema
Kate
not really good now. We have a couple really nice movies, but still it's more American.
I just figured, I didn't really understand some of the concept behind some American films that I haven't watched any, but they all seem very odd to me, and I just thought I wasn't smart enough to understand them. But now I'm hearing from a Ukrainian that they are pretty weird. So yeah, Nastia, she likes a lot of the same things we do, free time, movies, books. It's a different country, different culture, but the people are pretty much the same everywhere. So despite what we might think. So do you like being a teacher, Nastia? Would you say?
If I like to be a teacher?
Dumb question, right?
Are you sure? Of course, I love it.
Good.
Of course, I have a lot of problems, but I still love it.
And the reason I ask that question is, let's say you know that this is the job you're going to have for the next 10 years. This is the way your life is going to go for the next 10 years. Tutoring, teaching, grammar teaching with Eway. Would you be okay with that?
I am okay with that. I hope so. It will be my 10 years next life. Of course, sometimes it's hard, not easy. Sometimes it's like make me crazy and make me angry and everything. But I really love what I'm doing. I love teach kids. I love to be a tutor, and I love Eway. So yeah, I'm okay with this.
And how long have you actually been a teacher with Eway? Obviously, I've only been here for 5 months, but she was already a teacher before I came here. So
I think it's 2nd year, but I'm not sure. I think last year, yeah, It's second year.
And before you were a teacher, you said you were in fact a student with Ely, right?
Yeah.
And something that's pretty amazing about Nastia is, as you can see, she speaks very good English.
Uh,
She's, a level above advanced if we had one available. But she was telling me a little while ago that when she first came to EWA, she didn't know much English at all. And how old were you when you started taking EWA classes?
I was 20.
So, and she's 25 now. So, in 5 years, she's basically become fluent. Now, I thought, because when I first talked to her before I even came to Ukraine, I was thinking, oh, this person, she's been studying English since she was 6 years old or whatnot, because she was doing so well. She was having no trouble understanding what I was saying. I was able to respond. And if she didn't understand something, she had enough English to know how to ask, for clarification on it. So I was very surprised when she told me that she knew very little English just 5 years ago. And through basically studying EWA, because you said you really didn't do much else other than EWA classes, right, to learn English?
Before EWA, I just knew like 2 sentences. It was, hello, my name is Nastya, and as one, sorry, I don't speak English.
Which, hey, those are essentials, right?
I'm like had to study these 2 sentences because sometimes people ask me something in English and I'm just like, what's going on? So that's why I knew these 2 sentences. Yes.
And what was your biggest reason for wanting to learn English when you came to UA?
I had a dream for that time. Go to USA just for one program. It's if you know program Work and Travel, it's so similar, but it's called au pair. It's program for 1 year to be a nanny in American family. So I want to be a part of this program, but my English level was like just.
It was basic, probably.
Like under basic, I have.
Her English level at that time is where my Ukrainian level is currently, which is below basic.
I think worse than your Ukrainian level.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if that's possible. My Ukrainian's pretty bad.
It's absolutely possible.
Been here 5.5 months. I've been hearing Ukrainian a ton, and I still don't know anything.
Bad for you.
I know. Well, believe me, when I studied 14 lessons of Ukrainian before I came here. And I was so confident. I thought, I'm going to know all the basics. I'm going to be just fine in everyday conversation. And while I know enough to get by, I realize in the grand scheme of things, I know very little still. I picked up a few things, but
just practice.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm always blown away by how much, better these Ukrainians are when it comes to learning a new language. Most of them, by the time they get to be Nastia's age, if they're studying English or some other language, can usually speak at least 3 different languages, because Ukrainian is very popular here, obviously. Most Ukrainians know Russian, and in Nastia's case, she also knows English. And do you know any other languages? Or
I can read in Czech,
mm-hmm.
and just a little bit know how to say this signs,
Sign language.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So just a little bit.
Here, most Americans, we're still trying to learn English fluently, so. Here at 25, she knows 3 different languages and can understand 2 more. So very, very impressive, very impressive stuff. It goes back to what Kate was saying yesterday, but just how much higher the education and expectations are here for students and how much better off they become. So Nastia, to me, was a very encouraging example of how beneficial the EWA program really is, because, I go in for some of these lessons and I pray, but I always wonder if I'm really teaching them anything, honestly, if they're really getting anything out of my lessons and learning much from me. And Nastia, I think, is living proof that this program really does work.
Oh, yes, it is work. And like the most important part that we have native speakers. So for me, big step for study English was when I trying to speak. And my friends who was native speakers also, they like, you have to like, what? Come on, I make lots of mistakes. And what? You should just speak English, and that's how it works.
And I've been blown away too, coming here. And obviously, I don't really speak much Ukrainian myself, but there are so many just good English speakers around me here. Sometimes I feel like I'm in America still, just how good the English is here. But the people of Ukraine tend to be incredibly helpful towards foreigners. If I ever need help with something, there's 5 different people I can usually ask, and they're happy to do what they can to help me out because they tell me, yeah, we understand how tough it is for a foreigner trying to navigate life here. So I think that's a lesson we need to start putting into practice in America too. We need to start catering more towards the level that a foreigner is when they come to us, because other countries are doing a much better job of that right now than we are, and I'm blown away and impressed by it. And so, as I said, Nastia's done the program for 5 years now. It's basically a native speaker with an accent, as we say. Now, she mentioned the program where she was trying to come to the United States. Were you actually able to come?
I didn't.
She never got her chance, unfortunately. Somebody needs to write a letter to our government embassy and say that not all Ukrainians are terrorists or communists. So.
Yeah, I think I looks like terrorist.
So she fortunately does not get to have that opportunity, but is America somewhere you'd still like to visit someday if you could?
Oh yeah, no, I want. Sorry for my Americans friends.
That's okay.
I want
You're not
to
gonna offend
live
them.
there, but I really want to visit and travel there because it's a wonderful country with many interesting things, interesting cities. So yes, I will try to have this trip.
I don't think you're offending anyone. So a lot of them might say the same thing about they don't want to live in Ukraine, so don't feel bad. Yeah, so for a lot of Ukrainians, they definitely have the ambition to want to come to America. For some, it is to live there, but for some, it's just they want to come check it out. So something else that's kind of cool about Nastia and really just Ukrainians in general is on all her social media accounts, her name is actually Anastasia. That's actually how I first got to know her, through Facebook and some of these others. So I remember when I got off the airplane and she was at the airport to meet me, and Abby introduced her as Nastia. I'm like, who's that? That's not Nastia. That's Anastasia, isn't it? But then I found out that that is actually a very common thing in Ukraine. All Ukrainians usually have a long version of their name and a short version of their name. And why is that?
We have lots of names like Anastasia. It's too long, so some people are lazy, and so for us it's like easier to call somebody a short name like Nastya, and also we can change this name because of like make it more tender or what Nastusha or something like this. Somebody can call me just Nastya, most of them. So, and also Anastasia, like my full name, it's more like official. And also, like if we talk about teachers, our students calls us our name, like full name, and also our father's name. It's how they should call their teachers. So I am Anastasia Hennadievna in Ukraine.
Yeah, so there's no student coming up to her and calling her Mrs. Silvichkina.
No, nobody.
But in America, that's how it is. You just call the teacher by the last name.
My students usually, I mean, my kids in school, they didn't know, or they don't know my family name.
See? Again, it helps with that personal connection when you allow someone to call you by your first name. They can connect with you on a deeper level that way. So to me, that's really just another really cool aspect of a teacher. So Nastia teaches grammar with Eway. And when I was first getting ready to come here, and Abby told me that I was going to be teaching conversational English and the Ukrainians would be teaching the English grammar, you don't know how relieved I was to hear that. Because Abby told me, and she's right, we don't know our own grammar well enough, and we definitely do not. Because again, coming, as we're brought up, we're just taught to understand these rules of grammar because that's just how you do it. It's just normal. But when you really try to think about the logic behind it or the rules behind it, most of the time we probably couldn't tell somebody because we've just been so programmed to do it that way that we don't even think about it anymore. So do you find it easy or hard to teach English grammar, Nastia, being a Ukrainian?
Then what?
Like, do you find it hard, since you're a Ukrainian, to have to teach English grammar?
It's I think it's not really hard if you understand it. I mean, for my students, it's better than I am Ukrainian because I can explain them how I understand it.
Exactly.
Because you can explain. So yes, we use it like this, and say,
Be like, what in the world? Because again, as Nastia said, she can explain the logic for how the Ukrainians would use it, and then explain why it's different in English. I
Yeah,
can't do that.
sometimes they just ask me like, why? And I say, I have no idea
Sign of a
why.
good teacher.
You should just like remember it, and it's all, because it's not logical
That's
for
all we would tell them
us.
too.
So I'm trying them to explain how I understand it, and so I think it's good way because they think like me, the same Ukrainian mind.
So what do you find to be the most confusing part of English grammar?
Oh, your times. Why? Why? We have just 3 times, like past, like now, and future.
Yeah, past, present,
Present,
future.
yeah, past, present, future. It's all. No simple, no continuous. What? We just have 3 times. It's all, and that's how we understand like grammar. That's why for us it's a little bit complicated.
Mm-hmm.
Not a little bit. It's terrible.
But they're doing a good job still. I've heard very good things about all the grammar teachers at EWA. So, and believe me, they're teaching better than we could. Because again, what would we tell them? That's just how it is. I'm not sure how you do it in Ukrainian, but that's how we do it in English. So do you find English to be a hard language to speak, Nastia, or an easier one?
If be honest, and if just like you know, sorry, I forgot the word.
Sorry about it.
Compare like English with Ukrainian or with Russian. English, of course, much more easier than Russian and Ukrainian. So
Amen.
just practice, just a little bit understanding like this, process, and it's not really hard.
I wish Americans felt that same way because, like I said, we still are trying to figure it out completely, I think. But here's someone else saying, "Oh, no big deal. It's easy, right?" So just in case there's any confusion on because of how good Nastia's English is and whether or not she is in fact Ukrainian, could I have you say a sentence in English and then say it in Russian and Ukrainian also?
Okay.
And you can pick the sentence, just whatever sentence you know in all 3 languages.
Okay. Okay, just pick some.
Okay. Yes, because Nastia also is a translator for us as well sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah. So just
I like
one.
borscht.
Oh, я люблю борщ. It's Ukrainian. Я люблю борщ. It sounds almost the same Russian. So, yeah.
So, like I said, very impressive. 3 different languages. I studied a little bit of Greek, a little bit of Spanish, a little bit of Latin when I was in school, but I maybe know a handful of words, and literally that's it. And on average, most Ukrainians by the age of 16 can speak 3. In fact, I have one student in my class, he can speak 5 different languages pretty much.
Oh, probably Romanian, yes.
Oh, Russian, Ukrainian, English, and he knows Greek and Hebrew.
Oh,
Max, yeah. And just like at 14 years old, you can speak amazing, 5 different languages. I mean, just blown away just by the intelligent level. But when I see teachers like Nastia, I understand why Ukrainians are so smart, are so intelligent, and also why they're so respectful and polite, because they're having a good, they're having a good example being set for them by their teachers. No, because you show them love, you show them care. What they see at a very young age, those are the traits they're going to carry with them throughout the rest of their life. So, Nastia may not realize it, but she's setting just as much of an example for these kids as a parent might, and that's why she said she sees these kids as her kids almost. She sees herself as their second mom.
You're too kind.
No, we're being honest. Ukrainians tend to be very modest or whatnot, but they're really, truly amazing, amazing people. So like I said, Nastia is just, like I said, a phenomenal person. We appreciate you coming on and taking time to interview.
You're welcome all the time.
You're really good on camera, by the way, too. So Nastia is going to show us how we say goodbye in Ukrainian now.
До побачення. And Russian, до свидания.
So thank you all too for tuning into this video. Go ahead, subscribe if you liked it. I'm definitely looking for more subscribers at this point. If you have questions, go ahead and post those down in the comment section. I'm doing some thinking about what my next video is going to focus on. So if there's anything you'd like to see about life in Ukraine, go ahead. Post something in the comments. Give me a buzz about that, and I'll see what I can do. But for now, Goodbye. Take care.
See ya.